welcome to another episode of the Major Mixtape. Actually, the last episode for the season, and I finally wrangled you into coming up or getting you in, and you're fighting back illness and everything to do this. So I appreciate you coming in.
Cheers.
So the first bit we do. I should say, here was Rob Thorne. Welcome. And the first bit is a little bit about you and your kind of musical history and arts history and what you're up to now. So,
right.
Go for it.
Well, I've been in Palmy since '87 when I came here to study, so that was my first year at university, and started busking that year. Had started writing songs when I was maybe 13, specifically writing songs, and then started learning guitar when I was 15. So I started writing songs with guitar when I was 15, and I think it was probably the busking that kind of made me aware of the local music scene, and that was around the time that the Stomach opened. So I started going to shows there. But I wasn't almost, yeah.
Awesome.
And then around the very early 90s, started putting together an album of solo stuff and recording at the Stomach. And then in the process of that, was invited to join bands. So I think I had to be in a band before I could learn how to put together a band. And so once I've been in a couple of bands in Nargile and Blunt, I put out a solo album and then put together a band called Brick Shithouse, and just kept on putting together various kinds of combinations of bands, and I think it was all about maybe expressing myself as a singer and as a songwriter. So they were all just vehicles for my voice. And then in 90, and they were kind of on the rowdy side, the bands. And also became, from the end of the 80s to the early 90s, became schooled in an understanding of what it was like to build music around unconventional themes and forms and norms. And I think one of the most outstanding jams that I had with a friend that kind of changed how I thought about making music with people. We spent an hour and a half, me fluffing around on the guitar and him with his guitar lead, just playing the end of the guitar lead and playing it, kind of in a rhythmical and staticky kind of way. And I became very aware of how musical that was at that moment. And I think over the years I've kind of come to terms with the fact that, like some sports, that are better off done than observed. I think for myself, noise is something that is a process rather than an outcome. So I prefer to make noise than to be an audience member. And I think that's something that's carried on throughout my creative life. Is my belief that music should be made rather than consumed. So I was studying on and off, and went at the in 2000. Went to finish my BA that I'd started in '87,
right.
and then leapt straight into a master's, and it was in anthropology, and was very interested in doing a master's on the noise ethic, focusing it around kind of a historical aspect around the Palmy scene. And someone had given me a small traditional Māori flute that I was struggling to learn to play, and so I spent a lot of the time in the bush learning to play it in the gardens here at Massey.
Mm-hmm.
And a really good friend of mine, Lorena Gibson, recommended that maybe I should do my masters on taonga pūoro, and she introduced me to an acquaintance of hers, Richard Nuns, and that was how I became embedded, or it became embedded in me, my interest in traditional Māori musical instruments.
Yeah.
And I think since that time, in the last 15 years, what's happened is there's been an integration of my desire to process and make sound, and my deep interest in cross-culturalism
Mm-hmm.
and cultural musical forms. And so I've been making music with traditional Māori musical instruments for about 15 years now, and for about the last 7 using a loop pedal. And that's involved a number of collaborations, and the work has really kind of stepped up in the last 3 years. Had an album come out on Rattle Records, Whaia Te Maramatanga, which came out to a surprisingly amazing amount of critical acclaim.
Awesome.
And that's kind of created a number of opportunities around collaborations. So actually there's a single coming out today with a collaboration with Disjecta Membra, which is a kind of a Wellington goth band,
Mm-hmm.
to do with a traditional waiata. So that'll be interesting, and it's nice to have stuff that you do that kind of lands later. And I'm off to Berlin next month in January to do a commission collaboration with a New Zealand-born electronica artist by the name of Fizz, and we've been commissioned by the CTM Festival of New and Adventurous Music to create a collaborative performance. Yeah.
Awesome. Busy.
Yeah, really, really busy.
Yeah. Oh, that's good, man. Awesome. That's a brilliant picture of where you come from and where you're at in a few words. So let's
never
get
a few words.
Let's get into some tracks. And the first track is the first track you remember kind of falling in love with, or
right.
really enjoying.
Okay, so I find it very difficult to play favourites.
Yeah.
I can remember with I did an interview with Kim Hill, I think called Playing Favourites, and I kind of struggled to pick 5 songs, and I shaped the choice of that interview, the choice of those songs, around particular kind of career moments that were turnstiles and the way that things happened for me.
Yeah.
But this one I think is a bit more personal, and I mean, I'm very much a now person, so it would be very easy to pick 6 songs, 6 tracks that are just kind of happening for me now around that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I think the first song that I fell in love with, I mean, I've got 4 things written down here.
Yeah.
In terms of falling in love, I fell in love with a folk musical artist when I was very young by the name of Julie Felix, and there's a story about me kissing the TV when she was on.
Yeah.
And I can also remember my sister texted me the other day to say that she was listening to Glenn Campbell and it made her think of me.
Yeah.
And I think I can remember very young Rhinestone Cowboy, and I used to play that track on the vinyl when I was 5, so much that it was my dad's record and I scratched that record, and I can remember getting into trouble for that.
Yeah.
And then maybe the first thing that I ever bought was a cassette. I was living in Wairau at the time, and the family had gone through to Gisborne, the Big Smoke, and we all went. Dad went and bought a tape deck.
Yeah.
And we all bought a cassette each, and I bought Henry Mancini because I was particularly intrigued by the Pink Panther theme, and can remember thinking that I always wanted to learn saxophone.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of a song that I truly fell in love with, that put the music inside me, I'd probably have to say that the rest are academic, and that for me it would be The Clean, Anything Can Happen. And that was a song that that I learnt to play from listening to the record, and I busked, and it still represents greatly. I mean, the philosophy of the song still represents greatly where I'm at today in terms of, and it's a beautiful pop song, and it's very, it's iconic, and I love it.
Yeah.
So it would be The Clean.
Awesome.
Anything Can Happen.
Brilliant. Okay, and track number 2 is a song that gives you energy.
Right. So a song that gives me energy. Well, I love hard and driving music. I consider myself kind of, as I've played in a lot of hard rock bands, and I love hard rock. I think I want to mention Big Black, because that music was very it was momentous to how I shaped the things that I've done. So if it wasn't Kerosene or Steelworker by Big Black, and seeing Shellac for the second time just last week, that music for me I find it very uplifting. But I would have to say, and if it wasn't maybe Stiff Little Fingers, which was kind of, again, it's a nostalgic thing. As I was saying to you before we started, that I feel that the first song frames everything on a very nostalgic level. So if it wasn't, say, Gotta Get Away by Stiff Little Fingers, which for me is representative of those punk years that I had, it would have to be Tomahawk, God Hates a Coward, which is not off my favourite Tomahawk album. It's not the album, I don't put Tomahawk on as an album. I go to YouTube and I put God Hates a Coward on, and I turn it up. And it's the song that pulls me out. It's the song that I use to get going. And I think it's not about the theme or the lyrical content or anything. It's truly about the bass and the drums, the guitar, and the vocal style.
Back to the sort of days of making your own band type thing.
Yeah, well, and it's a really, Tomahawk have a very interesting take, and it's no wonder that it's amazing music. I mean, it's a super group. It's a whole lot of artists that have come together from their own amazing, great careers. And there's something, I don't know. There's something very primal about it, which of course becomes very evident in their next album with Anonymous, which is all traditional Native American First Nation songs that they put together in a rock format. And I think that overall that speaks greatly to what I do and where I'm at.
Totally.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So track number 2, Tomahawk.
God Hates a Coward.
Hates a Coward. Awesome. Number 3 is your idea of a love song.
Right.
No one else's. It's your idea of a love song.
Thanks for that. I think I've written some stuff down. I think that my idea of a love song is about expressing the inexpressible. For me, the best love songs have there's an element of longing, regret, even. That there's an element of separation rather than togetherness. That the love songs expressing that distance. So there's a sadness, but there's also an element of fulfillment and beauty, desire. There's a strong element of personification, so it's about someone in particular and whatever, or something, and I've realised that a lot of the love songs that I've been trying to work out which one, that the love songs, some of the greatest love songs aren't actually about people. They're about things or moments in the artist's life. And then that becomes framed as a person. And I think there's an element of nostalgia in the greatest love songs. And I don't think that you find a love song that has all of those all in one. And if you do, it's probably the greatest love song on the planet. So I've really struggled with this one because I've been having a bit of a renaissance with love songs, and it was something that I think maybe I always kind of steered clear of, and it was something that as an artist I always struggled to write. And it's very easy to be cheesy, and maybe the older I get, the easier it is to be alright with cheese. And to just face up to the fact that it's a good song, you know, and that it speaks on some level. And I mean, I think Paul Kelly is one of the greatest love songwriters ever. In terms, he can write a happy love song and he can write a sad love song. And I think, you know, if his song Love Never Runs on Time, When I First Met Your Ma, Leaps and Bounds, You Can Put Your Shoes Under My Bed, are all love songs, and they're all different to that set of four, you know. You know, bringing out the hard rock and nostalgically, you know, the Angels and Cold Chisel, great Aussie love song writers. Johnny Cash, there's just so many love songs that he has, and I think for me, Hurt, which is a 9 Inch Nails cover, and it just nails it 1,000 times better than 9 Inch Nails. And that's one of those love songs that isn't about a person, but the way that Johnny Cash sings it is, you know, and there's a drone in there, and there's a drone artist. I think, you know, that drone. And I've written a love song, No Question, which operates off a drone. Jesus and Mary Chain, anything off Darklands.
Got it right.
every song on there. Snapper, Gentle Hour, Nick Cave, of course. One track in particular that Babe You Turn Me On. There's a really shamanic element in that, which I really enjoy, because you don't get that.
You really did have a long list of
I did.
from.
Violetta Para, some of the work that I've been doing this year has involved finding songs that are cross-cultural. So there's a song that she has called Gracias a la Vida, which is about being in love with life. And it was the last song that she ever wrote before she committed suicide. So songs like that just have a depth to them.
Totally.
There's Leonard Cohen, and then becoming a father, I think, has brought out that there's a whole new wave of love songs which I would have missed out on. So, you know, having a daughter and a son who are exploring music now, and they're quite young, and I mean, in terms of formulaic love songs, they're formulas for a reason. So you get, you know, Adele, Taylor Swift, you know. Velvet Underground. So I would say, and there's another song. There's Larsa de Sela, which is Cantora Palabra, which is it's in Spanish, and it's an amazing love song. It has a lot of those elements. Plus, there's a sultry element, which is just very beautiful. So I'd have to say that that my love song for now, for this one that has really worked for me on a number of levels in the last little while, would be Wedding Present, and that's a song called Suck.
Alright.
Yeah.
Cool. Down to one.
For now. For now. Yeah.
No, cool. Awesome.
Favourites change.
Yeah, they do. Cool. So that's our track number 3. We're halfway, and number 4 is. Just check my note.
A song attached to a great story.
There you go. Yeah.
Right. So there's two sides to this, eh?
Yes.
It could be a song that that something happened around, that I have a story about something that I did, that I relate that song to that story.
Yeah.
So I guess as a musician, there's been a number of situations in live situations where I've sung or been involved in songs that have brought about great stories. I played in a band called Nargile, where we played Newbury Hall, and I smashed up my guitar and someone grabbed all the pieces and ran outside and threw the guitar on the roof of the hall, and then we spent a great deal of that party trying to get the parts of that guitar down so I could take them home and no more nails them together for the next gig. And there's a few stories when it comes to Nargile about people running off with pieces of my guitar and me trying to track them down.
Yeah.
I had one guitar that I used to smash up and would just put together with no more nails and have it there for the next show. There's a band that I played in called King Shag and the Electric Taliban, and we did a show in Wellington, and I was a singer in that band, and there was one song where I sung a long note and I passed out and fell on my back, and woke up to find I came to find an audience member straddling me and riding me like a horse, which was quite a story.
Yeah.
I think though I've decided to go with the way that a song is a story, and I think it has to be, again, it's Paul Kelly. Paul Kelly is an amazing songwriter. There's a chance that he's one of the best. I was nearly going to say the best.
Yeah.
But he's
got to be careful.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
But it's amazing what he can write a song about and the way that he can express things in extremely down to earth and domestic kinds of ways that make things very real. And I think that's a really important part of a song, and is what makes the song work, is the way that you don't even need to know who the song or what the song's about, but you have your story that goes into that song. He has a song called From Little Things Big Things Grow, which is, a story, a political story, and it's a long song, but it's a great song in the way that you don't have to know anything about the story at the beginning of the song, but what you don't know about the story, by the end of the song you'll be finding out. There's another one, Everything's Turning to White, which is extremely sad and very powerful, and it's the kind of song that I can't listen to without crying. And I think actually that's something that I hold a flame to in regards to Paul Kelly, is that he's got a number of songs which I cry during, and I love that element of being able to get something inside of me out without maybe even necessarily wanting to. And he's got another song called Bradman. Now, I'm not a cricket player, but Bradman was one of the greatest Australian cricket players, apparently, according to the song, that ever was. And this is a song about a cricket hero, and yet I find that when I listen to this song, there's a moment in there where I get tears. And I think it's to do with, there's a father-son moment. Right. And so as a father, I think of that, I relate to it. And as a son, I relate to it. So I would say that in terms of a song with a great story, it would have to be a Paul Kelly song. And if it wasn't Everything's Turning to White or From Little Things, it would be Bradman. And so I'll go with Bradman.
So reluctant, you're still not decided. No, that's awesome.
Yeah. Well, I think what I find intriguing or powerful about Bradman is that I'm not into cricket.
Yeah.
You know? And yet I find myself being into cricket with this song.
That's great.
And also having father-son moments.
Yeah.
You know?
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, we'll go with that one. And track number 5 is almost a little bit like the other half of track number 4, a great live story. But I suppose this is probably more a live band you've seen rather than
right.
But you take it however you want.
Okay, look, I've seen some really amazing acts, and that's not even the big acts. You know, I've seen some over the years, over I don't know, 30 years. I've seen some amazing shows. I've seen some amazing shows that I wouldn't necessarily want to even admit that I was actually seeing that band. So, I've seen Paul Kelly and the Johnnies and the Damned here at the Rhinebeck Rock Festival, and that was an amazing show, and that was the first time I'd ever seen Paul Kelly. And I've seen the Pogues. One of the greatest Straight Jacket Fits shows that I ever saw was when they supported the Pogues. Jesus and Mary Chain, Belt of Space, Brownie McGee. I've seen U2 twice. I saw U2 in 1984 with Under a Blood Red Sky. I was 15. It was the first big concert I ever went to. I got my licence that week and borrowed the folks' car and drove up.
Right.
And then I saw him in '89 with B.B. King, and B.B. King was outstanding. And you don't know, you're seeing legends, but of course they're still alive. And I think that what I just said there relates to the actual choice that I have made. Guitar Wolf and Dead Moon here at Harvesters. I never saw the White Stripes here at Harvesters because they came the Friday. They played the weekend after the birth of Felix, my eldest boy.
Yeah.
So I didn't. I made a choice not to go and see them. But I saw them at the second big day out.
Yeah.
Did I go to one or two? The big day out that I went to.
Yeah.
So Jesus and Mary Chain, I saw them in 1990, I think, and I made a choice not to go and see the Pixies. As far as I was concerned, they were 20 years late, and maybe I kind of actually regret that. Probably was a great show, as everyone's told me about. And in terms of the fact that all-time favourites, that's one of my all-time favourite bands.
Yeah.
There's the Steve Albini connection, and there's Surfer Rosa, which was an album that I bought the moment that it arrived without hearing it.
Yeah.
And it took years to get off the turntable. So I could choose Jesus and Mary Chain head on because the Pixies did an amazing cover of that song, and it's also a great love song. So if I wasn't going to go with Jesus and Mary Chain and head on, and I don't even know whether they did that song at the show that I saw, but if I was going to pick a Jesus and Mary Chain song to try and fill those 6, it would be that. But no, I'd have to say that it was Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Oh yeah.
He did an encore. When I saw Stevie Ray Vaughan, it was a Greenpeace show, Mount Smart Super Top.
Right.
It was a big show. I think there's Tony Childs and all sorts of great Kiwi acts, Herbs and the Bats, and but I mean, seeing Stevie Ray Vaughan and at the time being very much a guitarist, I think it was kind of in the same way that I've come to terms with seeing U2, and as my generation, that's kind of my Beatles, and Stevie Ray Vaughan, just a master. And so he did an encore, and he came out and did Voodoo Child, and it was, I think it was for me my Hendrix moment, and that says a lot for the kind of music that I was into at the time. So it would probably have to be Stevie Ray Vaughan, Voodoo Child.
All right.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, and one track to go.
Yep.
The last one, the fitting last track, is your funeral song.
Right. I've really struggled with this one.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've played funerals and played songs that people have asked me to play. And I had an experience this year where I played, I did a show, and while I was playing, someone passed away in the lobby, and that that was difficult to process. And then I was asked to play their funeral, and they asked if they could use my album during the slideshow, and the whole experience was extremely moving and very deep from the beginning, and I don't think it's ended. And I've come to term, and so this question has helped me realise that the music that I make with the taonga pōrero is fitting of that kind of situation, and that's no surprise because they were used traditionally in that way, and also there's a strong element of spirituality and emotionalism and expression, deep-rooted expression within the work that I do with taonga pōrero. And when I teach taonga pōrero, the people that I teach and the people that I work with and the people that I workshop with, and from young to older, all understand on their own terms the way that the sounds of these instruments have an embedded grief within them. I mean, I've got songs that I've thought about over the years that I've thought I would like that played at my funeral, and then the thinking process around this question has kind of made me realise that as an artist and as a musician, as a composer, I think it would be fitting for something of mine to be played at my funeral. I would hope that people, because I don't think I'd want to choose the music.
Yeah.
I think funerals are for the living. There is a degree, traditionally, of helping the person to pass over. And I imagine that I'd like a live element at my funeral. And as a live musician. So I think it wouldn't surprise me if at my funeral people chose to play something that I had written and recorded for their own sakes. And I think it would work. It would be perfect in terms of bringing out the grief, helping people to let go and to mourn. Of course, believing that people would be sad.
Yes.
And so I think, that the choice would be something of mine. There is a piece of music that I particularly enjoy that's an orchestral piece, Pachelbel's Canon in D. I particularly love that. There's a sadness, but there's an uplifting nature to it. So maybe that. As a trumpeter, I learned to play trumpet at the age of 10. I have always loved the last post, and when I go to Anzac parades, it's the last post that gets me. And I love that. I love those songs that pull it out of me. So I'd have to go with that.
Yeah.
The last post.
All right.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Good way to end, and a good way to end our entire series. Thank you so much for coming in and fighting through a bit of a rough throat and things like that. And thanks for your selection.
Cheers.
See you.